Special baseball.
I'll tell you, it's a Saber Warrior.
Oh, nice.
All right, here we go. Wow, Josh didn't even give us any countdown tonight. I love it.
Countdown.
We're like, we gotta pay attention. Josh is not messing around over there. So welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome to episode 51. Not 52. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Justin was complaining, but I gotta let him complain because he actually filled in for us.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to be on until what, June, right?
Late May. I think it was like late May.
Thanks for being flexible. So
Yeah.
I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Jones.
I wouldn't say that.
Former private first class in the Marine Corps. We'll talk about his brief military history.
Yes, sir.
It's a story that him and I have talked about off the air, but definitely something that it probably is a lot more common than you'd think. So, but
Yeah, I mean, like I told you, when you reached out to me to be on here, it's I kind of had my reservations about doing it, but here I am. So
yeah, and I think we'll talk a lot more about American Hero Hunt,
yeah,
things like that, hopefully.
Definitely.
So, but we'll start off with a lot of hunter quotes. I mean, you're the first guy. We've had some hunters on, but you're like diehard, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. What the mission is with if people haven't figured it out yet, American Hero Hunt would be if they haven't figured that out yet. But a lot of hunting going on. So this is a quote from Donald Trump Jr. Hunting forces a person to endure, to master themselves, even to truly get to know the wild environment. Actually, along the way, hunting and fishing makes you fall in love with the natural world. This is why hunters so often give back by contributing to conservation.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a,
That's any hunter, even if you're not, even if you're not a veteran or a first responder or anything like that. But any hunting you do, it's just sitting in nature. You couldn't. Say you're deer hunting, you don't see a deer all day, but the day was worth it. Just sitting in a tree stand by yourself and taking in nature. So
yeah, that's definitely there's definitely just as many pro hunting quotes as there are negative.
Oh yeah,
but who gives a fuck, right? It's like
right.
It is what it is. But
Yep.
Let's start off another Ohio guy. Like all of our guests, it seems like lately. I can't wait to get a non-Ohio guy. I'm kidding around.
Right.
But, grew up in a small. Is it Lipsick?
Lipsick is how you say it. Yeah.
Where the hell is that at?
So it is about 30 minutes northwest of Finley. You know where Finley is?
Yeah,
at?
my son went to Finland. My oldest did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he knows where it's at then.
He probably does.
It was close. It's very close. That was the closest town for us to go for any big, shopping mall, anything like that, was to go to Finley. So
Yeah, you put this into real perspective because Finley is super small. So I can't imagine
it was
that
big
being
to
a
me.
big city.
It was big to me growing up, but yeah, small town. My graduating class was 68 kids. So, it's, we lived in town until I was third grade. Third grade, we moved out in the country about, 7 miles from town. And, either way, any town, small town you went to, it was 7 miles away. So I grew up out in the country, you name it, hunting, doing, we did go-kart racing a lot, which is, we built our own engines, and that's what pretty much brought me into the mechanic world. But did motocross for a number of years. We lived on 3.5 acres, so we built a track in our backyard, had a full-on supercross motocross track in our backyard. So it was pretty cool. And I don't know, it's small town. I kind of, live by a small town now, but I'm only 30 minutes from the big city, 30 minutes to here. But small town to me, I wouldn't be who I am without small town. That's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in the small town, but it's always an interesting. It's like the same story whenever you talk to somebody that's from a small town. They're always like, "Hey, you don't hear much about bad things about being from a small town, right?"
I wouldn't think. You knew everybody pretty much.
So, what is the bad thing about being from a small town then?
I guess you'd say you're sheltered maybe a little bit, but I don't know. It was all good to me. Growing up, you knew everybody. You knew, even in grade school, you knew everybody pretty much from, say you were in 4th or 5th grade, you knew everybody in elementary, you knew everybody. Even in high school, you knew everybody from, freshman year all the way through senior year. You knew everybody.
So is it bad that everybody knows you? And
well, news travels fast. Bad news definitely travels fast. But I don't know. It's just, I guess if you keep your nose clean, you're all right. But
yeah, I feel like in a small town, even good news has to. It's always like the same. But I kind of equate it to like I grew up on a military post, so it's kind of a smaller community.
Yeah,
bad news definitely does travel fast, so I get it.
Yeah.
So anybody in your military, in your family, served in the military before you decided to?
Yeah.
the
So my dad was Army National Guard for, I think he did like 9 years, Desert Storm era. He never actually went. He was a light wheeled vehicle mechanic, and so he's in the Army National Guard out of Lima. He never deployed to Desert Storm. He wanted to, but they never let him go. So,
Yeah. It's interesting. So we're having some technical difficulty, but we'll fight through it. It's all right. Hold on. Yeah. Everyone's all panic mode here. So
I'm on airplane mode. Somebody's burner phone. Yeah. Who's got the burner phone?
Josh, unplug your speak. Unplug yours. See if that helps. We don't know. We'll give it a whirl. Let's keep moving. Let's not be ruined by this. It'll be fine. But let those guys figure it out. So you decide to join the Marine Corps junior year in high school.
Yeah, I was over summer. So during my junior year, no, I guess it would have been my sophomore year. Recruiter was in the school, hanging out outside the lunchroom. I stopped by, talked to him a little bit. But then it was over summer between my sophomore and junior year. Out of the blue, I got a phone call. We still had landlines at that time, so I had a house phone. But he called and, said, hey, you filled out an interest form and everything else. And, how would you feel about doing this or doing that? And so I ended up meeting up with him, kind of talked to my parents a little bit. And, I was 17. So my parents had to sign that line with me in order for me to join. So I did the delayed entry program.
So back to that, what was that conversation like with your parents?
My mom hated it, of course. I mean, she hates any time that I get into anything that's, a little bit unsafe. Growing up motocross riding, she hated it. She says it to my kids now. I got my kids on little dirt bikes now. She's going, I'm gonna wrap you in bubble wrap and everything else. But my dad has always been really supportive of anything I've done. Obviously, he was. He was Army National Guard, and then he went. He was a police officer for a few years, local small town. So I mean, they were. My mom was hesitant, but ultimately it was, what I wanted to do to serve my country and give back. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that's the question that's always funny about this. It's like either there's so much history like with a family in the military, or it's like somebody just decides to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna
out of the blue,
the mold.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about, you had an interesting career about them. So I guess we'll jump ahead because it kind of ties into this. So you decided to join the Marine Corps early. You got to get your parents to sign.
Mm-hmm.
You enlist to become a aviation mechanic.
Yeah, so I wanted to be a light wheel, just because that's what my dad was. I wanted to be, a light wheel mechanic, and I had a great ASVAB score, but he said it wasn't available. The recruiter said that wasn't available, so he put me in the aviation mechanic, and so I graduated. We had a big party at the house, as my graduation / going away party. I think it was May 25th was when I graduated high school, and then June 6th I was headed out. I was shipping out, going to I went to MEPS in Detroit. And then from Detroit, I went straight down to Savannah, and they picked me up there on a bus and put me on the yellow footprints.
To good old Parris Island, right?
Yep, Parris Island, South Carolina.
What's that? So we've had some Marines on before. What's that like? Give me your experience on showing up at Parris Island.
I doing the delayed entry program. I had it wasn't just on a whim where I hurried up and joined and took off, so I kind of had a little backstory of, what I knew, what I thought was going to happen. I've seen the videos. I mean, 2005, YouTube was around, so you can see the videos of what to expect and stuff like that. But, the first 3 days you're there is it's something else. They have you do the phone call to home. I totally screwed that up. There's someone screaming in your face and everything else. You push the right buttons, you have to say the right thing. And I don't think my parents, and to this day, I wonder if they just send an actual recording where they don't even hear your voice. Because my parents, I guess I should ask them if they actually got a phone call, because I know I screwed that up. But
yeah, I don't think I've ever talked to them where they were like, hey, this phone call that they were talking about, like that's because I went to military college, was the same thing. You had to make this phone call and somebody was like over your shoulder screaming at you, yelling,
Right.
and it really like it just didn't go well. And I don't feel like didn't go well for me, but like on the receiving end, they can't be really happy with what they're hearing. They got to be like,
Right.
like
So
what is going
that
on?
almost makes me wonder that they're sending a pre-recording. Yeah.
Hi, Mom, I'm doing great.
Right.
Someone screaming, yelling behind the scenes.
Yeah, but
That's crazy.
it was, yeah, the first 3 days. I mean, it's crazy. You don't sleep much, you don't eat much. Getting all your uniforms. I mean, people can see it on YouTube nowadays. It's all documented all the way through. The whole time that you're at, Paris Island, it's all documented now on YouTube and everything else, all the way through the training days. But yeah, it's would I trade it for anything? No. I mean, it's I'm a firm believer. We talked, about me being here tonight to do this podcast. Everything happens for a reason.
Right.
I'm definitely a firm believer in that. So,
yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about. I mean, one of the things you were hesitant to come on is like you're not the first person that I've ever talked to about it, but it's out there, and this is one of the things that we're like. I think is important to talk about is like things happen, right? People have all the best intentions. They're prepared to do something. You go to boot camp and things don't go your way all of a sudden pretty fast, right?
Yeah. So you'd get in trouble if you called it boot camp while you're there, but it's recruit training.
Recruit training. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's, I made it to training day 24. I broke my hand, doing Marine Corps martial arts, and, I had to go to med, and ended up having a cast on and everything else, and got held back and got sent to, MRP, which is Medical Rehabilitation Platoon. And while you're there, they, it's kind of, it's kind of frowned upon for you to be there because, at that point they're trying to rehabilitate you to get you back, pick up with a new platoon. But while I was able bodies, you're encouraged to do a little bit of PT and everything else. So, I mean, I was in a hard cast for my right hand. I broke my pinky all the way down to the base of my wrist. And then while doing PT, I had issues with my knee. So I actually dislocated my knee, blew out my knee. And so obviously, had to go to med again. And it was probably, I don't know, a good month or more of trying to, rehabilitate it, wearing a brace, which really was horrible because I was on crutches and had a cast on my other hand.
That's a great sight to see, probably,
right. Trying to hobble around and I don't know. It's everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if that didn't happen. But my orthopedic doc that I had while I was while I was going through the knee issues, suggested that I, be medically separated, just because it was taking so long to rehabilitate. And I, since, at that time they ended up classifying me or, diagnosing me with issues with my left knee, where my kneecap actually sits, it doesn't ride in the groove like it's supposed to. And it actually sits at, at a 60-degree angle. So it's prone to, dislocation, subluxation, whatever you want to call it. So that went on I went to, it's called PEB, Physical Evaluation Board. And while you're there, you basically run the separation platoon. So you have the Physical Evaluation Board side of it, all of us who are waiting, medical orders of, you're going to be, go back into training or you're going to be separated for your medical issues, so on and so to speak. But then you also have, you run that platoon of the guys who, the guy who lied, the guy who tried to fraud, right. The guy who lied about this, lied about that, and got caught, and stuff like that. So I was there for almost 3 months.
Let's talk about that. You're have your heart set on, obviously, for a little while. You're through high school, you're ready to join the Marine Corps. You get the Marine Corps, you get dealt a couple bad hands. Mm-hmm. You're about to get kicked out. What's going through like young Justin's mind at this point?
It's just, it's another one of those things that, I've always been a believer that, maybe maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. The hope was in the back of my mind that they came back and, would say, oh, we'll try to put you back into training. But for me, I don't know. Was I, especially after being in there that long, I was ready to go home. I mean, you're only supposed to be on Paris Island for 3 months regardless,
Right.
let alone I was there for almost 6. So
Gets a little old fast, right?
yeah. But what was the thing that was nice about the physical evaluation board when you were in PEB is, you dressed in your BDUs every day. You dressed in your uniform every day. You walked about the island as if you've already graduated, as if you're already a Marine. Because 9 out of 10, you're being honorably medically separated from the Corps. But so every Sunday we pretty much ran the island, did whatever we wanted for 8 hours on Sunday, called home, did whatever we wanted. So I mean, it was, hindsight's always 20/20, but again, who knows where I would be now if what happened then didn't happen. So.
Right. So you come back home. I'm pretty sure your mom was probably happy that it didn't work out. And I'm kidding. But
Right.
now you come back. You didn't, like I said, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. What was the reaction of your family coming back?
Everybody. I mean, my mom and dad picked me up, so I had to take a Greyhound home. So I took a Greyhound all the way from from Paris Island to Findlay. They picked me up in Findlay. It had been almost, at this point, almost 6 months before anybody saw me. So they were, everybody was happy to see me. We're a small family. At that point, my brother, my brother wasn't even, I don't think my brother was living close. So, I mean, I don't know. It was, I guess everybody had the feeling of, it's, glad to be home, but, sorry it didn't work out, so to speak. But I don't know. I wish, some days I wish I could sit around and have the same experience, other guys did. And there are a couple guys that I actually, have caught up with, that were in the same platoon, the original, same platoon as me when I got to Paris Island, 3rd Battalion. I've caught up with them on Facebook and stuff every now and then, but it's, like I said, it's, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, you can't control what you can't control, right?
Right. No, my body failed me. Does it have, I guess, does it have, mental weight on me? Maybe. There are things that I, think about and always wonder, like, what could be, or, everything else. So.
Yeah, that doesn't help though, right?
No,
that never helps anyone to dwell in the past and try to figure out, how things are going to be.
Yeah.
But so you like I said, the good thing about you coming back, you obviously had a mechanic background before you left, right?
Yeah, like I said, growing up, I mean, it's we were, I'd say, a middle class to lower middle class family. My dad didn't take anything anywhere to get worked on. We worked on it. We fixed it ourselves. Racing go-karts, building our own engines and doing the things that we did. That's what, that's what I've always done. I mean, ever since I was probably, 12 years at least, I used to, that's all I did was work on stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, at least you come back, you have a skill. That's one of the questions I was going to ask later on. I was like, where did that bug come from? So it sounds like it came pretty quick, pretty young. That
it definitely came from Dad. Yeah, it came from Dad. I mean, it's always been that way, and even today, we still work on stuff together. We still do everything together. So
it wasn't the hold the light. He was actually teaching you what you needed to know.
It's like, hey, I'm working over here, dummy.
That's one of the greatest things of growing up that you can't miss. It's like, it's changed now because there's like magnetic lights. You can actually, they don't need you, but like when your dad needed you, like, you need to come out here and hold the light, and then 5 minutes into it, 5 minutes into you've lost all interest, and then all of a sudden you're looking somewhere else, and the lights, the light definitely falls where you're looking, and then your dad yelling at you about how you can't, you don't know, hold the light, god damn it, things like that. So it's always interesting to hear that. So at least your dad was obviously teaching you. Like my dad, I just was more like just yelling at me about what I wasn't doing right holding the light.
I'd say I probably got yelled at a few times. I've always been a hands-on guy though. Like, and my youngest child's the same way. Like, I used to take stuff apart just to see how it works.
Right.
You know, and to me, that's how I learn. You know, that's how I've always learned. And even now, working on, you know, whether it's a Ford Explorer engine, completely taking it apart. You know, when I worked, you know, for the city, and I was working on police cars all the time, and you know, people are like, how do you remember how to put all that together? You just, I don't know, you just do it. So
Yeah, but it's like you said too, though. Like you have YouTube now, which is like makes everything so much easier. Like,
right.
Now everybody can be an electrician, everybody can be a mechanic, everybody can be like an artist, everybody can be a podcaster. Like, I mean, all you gotta do is just look at obviously we can't because we can't get the sound right now, but yeah, it is interesting to like you grew up at a time where that wasn't like that was just like starting off, but you know, I can't imagine like it's YouTube for everything, right? I mean,
YouTube, I won't lie, I use it now for, you know, certain things. You know, you watch how, you know, right now I'm doing some little bit of drywall work at the house. You know, watch how somebody does drywall or this or that or the other. You know, you find the tips and the tricks, and I don't know. It's
I just laugh at the thing about it is like the only thing about YouTube is like somebody literally will like they time lapse it, right? So they're showing what they're gonna do, and they don't tell you that they time lapse it, that it actually took 2.5 hours, and you're like watching, you're like, oh shit, this is gonna take me 15 minutes, and you're like,
right.
Holy shit, or like you got to go to the store 7 times to buy all the tools to do that. So I think somebody just put my dad through a creeper through our fiberglass garage door because I didn't hold the light right. That's what I'm talking about. That's hardcore.
Yeah,
like when I grew up, and like, yeah, I think I think we should push like the magnetic flashlight should be banned for kids. They should have to.
You have to hold a real flashlight.
Yeah, there's no headlights like that we're back like you have now. I mean, that's like I always yell at my kids to get the headlights, and like, you know, that's like I think I have like 17 of them in the house. I don't know where they're at right now, but you know, that's the hard part. I'm always yelling to find the light, not hold the light. But
yeah,
it's interesting. So you come back, you got kicked in the teeth a little bit, I call it, right?
Yeah.
So what's your mental stats at that point? I mean, what do you really like deep down inside? I know people are listening, but like, how are you feeling about?
I just didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, you know, my plan going into the military was to make a career out of it.
Right.
You know, if I, do your 20, 25 years and you retire. But, you know, I had no idea what I was going to do. And that's, you know, at the end of the day, that's why I'm living where I'm at now, because there's nothing around Leipzig. You know, there's nothing but factory work, which, you know, I ended up doing. You know, that's all you really have, unless you're gonna step out and do your own thing, and you know, start your own business and stuff like that. There's really nothing but, you know, factory work, or, you know, if you got into construction trades and stuff like that. So, you know, I ended up building an apartment above our, you know, we had a barn, had a huge loft area. I built an apartment up there, and that's pretty much where I lived. I did that for, you know, I knocked that out pretty quick right after I got back, and then, you know, just started working at a factory in Finley. But, you know, it's from going to you had a plan to all of a sudden now you don't have a plan. It changes, you know, changes the dynamic real quick. I mean, thankfully I didn't have kids. I had a girlfriend while I was, you know, when I left. I was dating her in high school, and come home, you know, the cliche thing, she cheated on me while I was gone. Yeah. So, you know, that throws another wrench into it. So, you know, I guess it's one of those, you know, one of those things you live and learn type of deal.
So what do you attribute that you having your positive spirit about and being able to just like buckle down and pivot? What do you attribute that to?
Probably my upraising with my dad. I mean, it's always been, you know, we always had issues at the house. I mean, we living in a farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere. We'd have, you know, pipes burst. We never had newer vehicles. It was always older vehicles. You know, something would break down. We'd only have 2 vehicles. You know, mom and dad both have to get to work, so, you know, you push on. You go out there when it's 20 degrees out. You don't have heat in the shop, and lay out in the middle of the shop or out in the driveway because it broke down, and you fix it. You know, it's just one of those things where you know, adapt and overcome. You do what you have to do to, you know, what you have to do for at that time for your family, and then, you know, just to get by and keep moving forward. You know, no matter what life throws at you, I mean, tomorrow's a new day. That was one thing my dad always told me. Tomorrow's a new day. Whether it was I did something wrong as a kid or whatever, we had an argument. Kids, me and my brother or sister fighting, whatever. He's always.
Yeah, there's I love in the comments come up with profanity.
My dad's always been the guy that would if he got into anything he would he'd say tomorrow's a new day. He doesn't let arguments bother him. He doesn't let it bother him. So
and that's a hard thing. I mean, and I think sometimes in diversity, everyone I think with our kids like you want to like. You do want to wrap them in bubble wrap, like your mom said, or you do want to keep them out of diversity. But
I'm not.
Yeah, you're like, forget that, Mom.
I'm not
they don't
that.
need a helmet.
No.
Come on, man. I feel like you still got the helmet on there now that you're padding them up. That you can't. But no, it's like, I think a lot of it is that learning with adversity, like young and dealing with some stuff. I mean, that's the big thing is like adversities that come no matter what. I think sometimes it may be easier when you learn it younger. Maybe I don't know. Sometimes,
I mean, I guess if you've never had to deal with, and that's the way I'm with my kids. Like, if you've never had to deal with it, and you've been spoon fed, K through 12, or all the way through high school or whatever. I mean, what do you do when you hit that real world? What happens? I mean, that's where I'm grateful for my parents. Maybe it's because they couldn't provide. They couldn't spoon feed me.
Yeah.
But and that's made me who I am today. But
I think you're just a few years behind me, but it was that I think it's changed a little bit. There wasn't. I mean, number one, our parents like my age. Like my parents, he's like, yeah, I'm way behind you, Chad. But I think you look at like when I was growing up, our parents didn't know everything we were doing. There was no way to it wasn't out there for everybody to find out.
Oh, I was the same way.
Whereas where now it's like it's out there and people are you can see what they're doing, and I mean, you should be actually. I mean, I'd be horrified if my parents knew everything that we were doing all the time. I'd be like, right. I feel like a lot of beatings would have been happening.
Well, I have come to find out that somehow my parents knew what I was doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Somehow they knew what I was doing, and that's small town.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the small town thing. I mean, I don't.
But that's anybody that's really parenting. I mean, not to like go on people's parenting skills, but you really know everything your kids are doing. Like they think they're getting away with stuff because they're doing pretty much the same shit you were doing when you were younger.
Right.
Just maybe a little bit differently, or like,
and it comes full circle. My parents used to tell me, "I'm not stupid. I've been your age before," and it's the same way with my kids. Like, I see myself in the things that I used to do, and it's quite funny. It's
all right. So you got a brief Marine Corps career.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some more important stuff. But the question I had: biggest lesson you learned from your short time in the Marine Corps?
Biggest lesson I learned. I guess I'm not invincible. It's Marines are the few, the proud, and the Marines. We're tougher. We like to eat crayons, but we're tougher than everybody else.
Yeah, they like crayons. I hear. Joe's over there. Joe's over there eating those right now. Part of his. He can eat those. Part of the Hard 75 program that he's on about.
I went through. I went through the beginning of parasailing, the beginning of recruit training when they're the hardest on you. And at that point, I missed rifle range by 2 days. And rifle range is about the switch. That's about the switch where they, they're still going to ride you hard. They're still going to drill you. They're still going to do this and that. But that's about the time where you start finally, getting to the point of becoming a Marine. And start, going more forward. Looking back, it was tough, but it wasn't that tough. But I don't know. It's I guess being, you're not invincible. Things can happen, and you just gotta roll with it. I mean, it's not, there's nothing I could have done to change what happened while I was there. God has a plan, for me. God has a plan for everybody. I don't, there's a lot of things it happened for a reason. I can't quite figure that reason out. Just recently it happened in my life, but it's we're all destined to do something, and just, you're not, it's going to smack you in the face one of these days when you find out what you're destined to do. And it's I guess that's just my thing. It's like you just got to roll with it. I mean, I don't know. It's I've always been I've always been a patriot. I've always had patriotism for my country. But sitting there watching 9/11 happen while I'm in school, that was a lot of the deciding factor for me to join the military. But it's just being a part of you know granted it was a short career, a short time in the Marines, but being a part of something like that is definitely it's something that I'll always hold and always yeah, I didn't walk across parade deck. I didn't graduate, so to speak,
Right.
but it's always something that I'll hold on to. So
Yeah. Well, I always say this before. I mean, anybody that's like towed the line and raised the right hand and whether they made it through or not, honorably, thank you for your service. It's a huge thing because, again, not everybody's doing that. So you should be proud of yourself. And like
And
I said
that's
before, things don't always go your way. And
excuse me.
it is
Yeah,
what
and
it
that's
is.
we owe it. We owe it to the people who signed that dotted line.
Yeah.
And that's where I've always and continue to do what I do for that reason.
All right. So, you threw that. Well, let's talk a little bit about so you worked in the factory a little bit in Findlay. I know this. Is it still up there, the factory you worked at?
Yes. So I worked at it was called Nissan Brake. Nissan calipers. They make every parts for Honda. They're still there, but they got bought out by Hitachi. And so I'm with Hitachi now. But then I also went to a small factory in Ottawa. I don't know if you ever heard of Ottawa Glandorf. Small factory there. I was actually making Whirlpool washers, dryers, deep freezers was the biggest thing. Refrigerators and deep freezers. That was where I was at when I was, when my wife graduated and came down here ultimately. But
Left the mini city for the big city.
yeah, it was definitely a rude awakening because I had never been outside of coming down here for Polaris Mall at one point with an old girlfriend, but other than that,
You're like, holy shit! You even said that when you showed up. You're like, how long has it been since you've been up in this area? No.
It's probably been 3 or 4 years since I've came up here for anything other than going to Cabela's. I jump off 71.
There's no other reason to come up where we live, according to Justin, other than they got a Cabela's. But you were laughing about hunting by where IKEA's at now.
Yeah, which that's where my wife shot her first buck. I shot my first buck.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And if you know what that place looks like now, there's no way that anybody was ever hunting. But
yeah, there's nothing.
But it makes sense. So you like you said, you met your wife. You changed your job careers about 2008. You fall back on the trade you learned as a kid as a mechanic. Started working as a fleet mechanic.
Yeah. So I was down in so I was working in Ottawa. She graduated high school in 08. She came down here to go to Columbus State. And while she was down here, we were going to do the long distance relationship.
Right.
And that lasted about a month. And I was like, I ain't doing this. So I came down here over July 4th shutdown. There was always a week shutdown for the plant. And I came down here and found a job over in Plain City for a landscape company and started working on, anything from mowers to trucks and anything in between. I did that for a couple years with them, there in Plain City. And then I guess what was it? So I went to another landscape company. They're a national landscape company, Brickman at the time. It's no longer Brickman, but I covered 4 different branches here within the Columbus area. Delaware, South Columbus, East Columbus, West Columbus. Did that, and while that was going on is when I got married to my wife in 9, 10, 11. So that's easy to remember, 9, 10, 11. So yeah, 2011, we got married and then bought a house in Reynoldsburg off of my sister and my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And, was working at Brickman, and then I went to a little bit of a change of pace from doing all landscape stuff to I went to a towing company down in Columbus. I worked for them as a fleet mechanic on all the big rig tow trucks they had, rollbacks, small trucks where they repo cars and everything else. So that was kind of interesting going from landscape field to just working on trucks and hearing the stories of these guys stealing cars.
Right.
Excuse me. So outside of that, I mean, I ended up being in Reynoldsburg. I ended up getting a job at the city of Reynoldsburg, being a fleet mechanic for them. I started that in 2015, I believe it was. So 2015, I guess 2013, I had my first kid. I can't skip that. That's kind of important. So 2013, I had my oldest son, who's now 10. And then 2015, I started working at Reynoldsburg and had our second son, who's now 8. I worked there for 7 years, almost 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. It was a rough place to work.
What was that?
It's I mean, I could go on for hours on that.
Well, back before you start talking about like specifics, so any formal training for being a mechanic, or was it just kind of like learn OJT, just keep moving at some spots?
It's always been, I up until I'd never gone to school. I'll take that back. I tried to go to school. I tried to go to Columbus State for about a semester, and they were having because I was going to get my automotive degree through Columbus State. And they were having me taking these English essay writing classes, all these stupid prereqs and everything else. And so I kind of, quit. I dropped out, quit doing that.
All right.
So, yeah, up until that point, I had no formal training for any mechanics whatsoever other than just, I guess just having the brain to know how to do it. And just done it, up until I was at Reynoldsburg. I finally had to become ASE certified. So at that point, I studied the books and went and took the tests and became ASE certified. So it just, I don't know. I can look at something and figure it out and not have to, I guess not have to have the book training, so to speak.
Right. So if you're talking to a kid nowadays, nowadays it's, you go to school, graduate from high school,
You don't need
go to college, right?
You don't need
Yeah. So I want to like somebody that's really mechanically inclined. What do you have to say to a person like that, or a kid that's thinking about the trades?
Do the trades. Don't rack up $20,000, $60,000, $80,000 in school debt for no reason. If you can weld, if you can be an electrician, you can weld, you can be a mechanic, you can do. There's no reason to get a degree. I mean, I think, and I'm happy that our country is kind of leaning a little bit more towards that now. Our society is letting our trades and bringing the trades back into school, into high school. Growing up, I had FFA, I had welding class, I had ag class, I had, my senior year, I left school every day at 10 o'clock to go to work.
Right.
So you don't need $100,000 plus school debt to work for the next 20 years and try to pay back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an important thing. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, as a parent, there's like, to me, it's like wherever your child wants to go, right? I think that's our thing. But if you go from me like 50 years old, like they were like pretty straight up to people in high school. Were like, hey, you're like. I remember taking this test. I think I talked about it before. Like this, you took this test and it kind of recommended like 3 jobs you had.
Yes, yeah.
And but yeah, I think there's not a lot of people that like really look at it and be like, hey, this college isn't for them. And as expensive as it isn't like this thing you just go and try to figure it out, right? I mean,
don't waste your time.
Yeah.
don't try to figure it out. Know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you're a kid and you know what you want to do, right out of high school, whatever, go for it. But if you know how to weld. I've got a cousin now who, growing up, he had a rough life. Right out of high school, he was a felon. He served a lot of time, even in his high school years. He served a lot of time in juvie and ended up in jail and everything else. But he's since that's been many years ago. He's since cleaned his life up and he's become a tradesman. He's working for a huge company making, I mean, making more money than I can,
Yeah.
that I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, it's a viable thing. I think a lot of it, the message has to come from the parents too. I mean, the kids, you gotta follow your heart and what you feel like you can and can't do, and then also there has to be get rid of that, like the stigma, like we talked about, the suicide stigma, but also there's I think there's a stigma for the trade schools still in the United States, right? And I hope it does change. Somebody just posted that my son-in-law learned welding from his neighbor, was making $400K welding on the pipeline after high school. Yeah, so there's a lot of, for the skilled things. There's um that's what's pretty amazing about that thing, is it just kind of find your way. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, and like you said, the parents. I mean, if most parents want to be supportive of their kids, but try to figure out what your kids are good at.
Yeah.
Don't just because you went to college doesn't mean your kids have to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the way I am with mine. I mean, that's my youngest. He's he's kind of two peas in the pod. I think he's going to follow the same kind of route I did, and more power to him, because I think trades have the trades today are a lot better than what they were back when I was a kid, money wise, career wise, and everything else. But it's more power to you if you can learn to trade and go do it, because it's definitely, there's a shortfall of them for sure.
So we get deep into the other stuff. You ready for some whiskey?
I'm always ready for whiskey.
I was too, especially when I was staying a little bit dry there, but we're gonna do it. But you brought it, so we're back to Buffalo.
Hold on. I can't believe you did dry January.
I did dry January, and I've been doing damp February, but it's I mean, it's more like soppy February. No, I mean, it's I mean, if I'm being realistic, I'm trying not to drink like every day. Like, not that like I say that out loud like it's horrible, but it's just like not having to have to drink every day. It doesn't feel that great.
I guess I don't drink every day. I'm not.
What way to judge me?
I'm not to that point. I don't drink every day.
Yeah, but drinking to me every day could be just literally having one pour of
sip.
whiskey.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, that's not likely, but no, I'm kidding. It's I shouldn't be saying that. No, there's some. I mean, it's just better to do it. I mean, it's just kind of, but it's also a lot of things that with mental health and some things that we're talking about and the network I'm in. It's just like saying what you're going to do and do what you're going to say, right? So I said I was going to stop drinking in January. It wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be, but I'm more of like a ritualistic drinker. So like it was like a couple podcasts where we have people on, you're not drinking. It seems a little weird, but like my big thing is movies, right? So if I'm watching a movie, like there's certain movies like that you have to have like whiskey. Like any war movie, if I'm not drinking whiskey, I'm kind of like I mean, the new Adam Sandler movie, if you haven't seen that, you need a lot of whiskey to get through because it's awful.
Really?
But by the way, so there's some movies that are
I'm not a huge movie guy. My wife though, her and her sisters, I don't understand. They can quote movies from 20 years ago.
I'm a big movie guy. I like movies, so we won't talk about the movies I like because a certain person in the basement here doesn't watch any of the good movies. It makes, every time I talk about it, just makes me love them just a little bit less, maybe. No, I'm kidding. But let's get into tonight's first whiskey. We're back to the Buffalo Trace kick. And I don't know if we haven't had a bottle and bonded bourbon on in a while. So do you know the rules of the bottle and bond? You said you're not big into it.
I did a tour, and but I can't. It has to be a specific.
There's some rules, yeah. So what's interesting about what you picked is E.H. Taylor. Like, this is a product from Buffalo Trace, which is in Frankfort, Kentucky. It's owned by the Sazerac Company now, which we've talked about many times. It's had a couple different names throughout history: George T. Sagg Distillery, Old Fire Copper Distillery. But the E.H. Taylor line is actually is named after Colonel Edmund Hayes Taylor Jr. He is actually considered one of the founding fathers of the bourbon industry. He was his dedication to the distilling started after the Civil War when he purchased the OFC distillery, Old Fire Copper, which is known as Buffalo Trace today. He kind of at the time was developing a lot of like innovative ways of distilling and techniques that they're still in use today. And he's actually was one of the big people, along with the Treasury Secretary John Carlisle, who was instrumental in passing the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. So it's the first FDA, like technically the first FDA type of thing that was protecting citizens. So to be bottled and bonded, it has to be 100 proof. It's the first thing, always 100 proof. It has to be distilled by one. I just learned something different about this and how it's worded, but it has to be distilled by one master distiller in one distillation season. But this master distiller could be, the way it's worded, could actually be the distillery. So it doesn't necessarily individual. I just learned that here in the past couple of weeks. But and the third part of it has to be aged in a federally bonded warehouse. So, and today, back then that was a big deal because people wonder, like, why do they do this? Like, it's kind of gross. But if you look at the history coming out of that, people were literally taking barrels. They'd have a barrel somewhere. They'd walk by and spit, tobacco in it to make it dark. They'd put all kinds of stuff in to make it taste right. There's just no regulation of how they were doing it. That part, and there was also, it wasn't very safe in some places how they were doing it. So it came about to, it came about to protect the American citizen, but also it put Taylor on the map with now a bunch of laws and regulations that have it. So, but if you see bottle and bond, it does require those two things. So tonight we have some different bottle and bonds up here, but the H. Taylor line is all bottle and bond, with the exception of the barrel proof and some other stuff. But this one right here, you kind of threw me off because it's a single barrel. We've had the small batch, but it's actually a barrel pick. Justin didn't even know that we're looking at this. This is actually from casks. This is a single barrel. So again, not only is it just a single barrel, but it's actually a private barrel pick, which is not very common for H. Taylor. They've been around a little bit doing that, but generally, all, like we said before, these are non-age stated. Anywhere from 7 to 10 years. The proof is always 100 proof. And then with E.H. Taylor and many of the Buffalo Trace products, the mash bill is undisclosed, but this is Buffalo Trace's low rye mash bill #1. So have you had the single bar before?
I may have. It's been a while. But.
So we'll open that. We got some other ones here for you to try, but here, grab me a glass there. But this one, like I said, it's actually from cask. It's I don't know where that's at. So barrel number 103. We'll give them more than that. We're going to start about American Hero Hunt. You need some whiskey for that. I need some whiskey because the audio. I blame Josh, but it's all right. That's okay. So these guys, look at them all waiting. Like you gotta pass around to the horde. Joe, why don't you get yourself a pour that? We're harassing Joe. He's doing well on 75 hard. So
that's good.
Yeah, these are really good. I mean, so we're going to talk about, which is interesting. So this is, like you said, age. This is not age stated, and the one we'll talk about later on is age stated. But anywhere from 7 to 10 years. Some people said they've been 11 years old. I don't buy that as much, but a great. $64 normally, but I mean these go for way more than that now with crazy secondary.
No, I bought a small batch one because I haven't been able to catch it at Buffalo Trace. I bought a small batch one when I was out in Illinois. I think I spent.
That's actually super good. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. It's even crazy. And then if you haven't seen it before, the tubes are there, but these do come in nice tubes. Well, cool. So we'll catch on when we have that now. We'll start talking a little bit. So you talked about the mechanic side of your family. Were you guys hunting, obviously, growing up?
So my dad never hunted.
Okay, interesting.
I started hunting with a couple of buddies in high school. It was mostly shotgun season.
Okay.
If you've ever been to Northwest Ohio, it's flat as far as you can see. Postage stamp woods here and there. Every road pretty much runs east and west and north and south. You have a couple that run diagonal in between there. But so it's a lot of farmland, a lot of,
Somebody posted, this is great. Whoever this, we can't always see who the people are. That's the way the platform works. But somebody he just shot that whiskey like it was a gobbling turkey. Yeah, he's definitely not sipping it.
That's good, man.
Dang, he's like shit. He's like, let's get on this. He's like, I'm more of like, I'm like sipping it over here, smelling it. I mean, he just put that down pretty quick. Do you need some more?
You didn't give me very much.
Yeah, so help yourself. The bottle's right in front. It's your bottle, so you can always have a little more. So.
So I didn't hunt a whole lot growing up, I started out with a couple buddies. It was shotgun season. You'd push some woods, a couple guys would stand, the deer would run, run towards you,
Right.
jump and run type stuff. And so growing up, I didn't do a whole lot. It's just been, outside of moving down here is when I really got into, started getting into bow hunting. Like I said, we hunted a couple miles from here, right across the road from here.
You're like, I think we could. I mean, if you hang out here long enough on my deck, you're going to see some. They haven't been around a lot, but that's a huge. We got a bunch of deer that come through here.
There's some giants here.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So yeah, I mean, I got into it, a little bit. Started doing the being pro staffs for all these big name companies, and having my own little, I guess, Facebook hunting team with myself and a couple buddies. JMR, it was Justin, Mike, and Rodney, JMR Outdoor Adventures, and we would just hunt and film stuff. And I had a couple doe kills that I filmed while hunting. I had them aired on the Pursuit channel, on national TV with a company that I was doing it with. And so I did that for a few years, and it was just, I don't know, it was fun. It definitely changed the aspect of hunting. I kind of got wrapped up in the big industry, the hunting industry, the way things are nowadays. And I've since, I guess I don't hunt much for myself anymore, but
yeah, we could talk about it. So like you started American Hero Hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably tell about it a lot better than I can. So start about 2016 then.
Yeah. So 2016, I had an idea to.
Well, before we do that, sorry to cut you off. You before you started that, you actually decided to take a veteran on a hunt, right? Was that your idea?
So 2016, I had the idea. I was just like, man, I'd like to, take a veteran on a hunt. So I had property to hunt over by Bell Fountain, just up past Marysville. I had 104 acres that I had sole permission to hunt, and there's a bunch of giant deer. I had, the great setup, anything I could ask for. So I was like, man, I got all these stands set up and everything else. Let's find a way to give back to a veteran. Let's find a way to give back to some veterans. And so, myself and, Mike and Rodney, we all did it together. Brought our first guy. At that point, it was nowhere near a nonprofit. It was just us being, Joe Schmoes giving back to somebody. So we did that so I did a whitetail guy, and then we did a waterfowl. We went up to Pickerel Creek up on Lake Erie and did a public land draw. 5:00 in the morning, show up, you draw your number. That's the blind you get. And we took a guy out. So for 2 years we did that. And it was just, I enjoyed doing it. I mean, it's a way to give back to somebody that signed a dotted line. But we knew it wasn't going to, and that's when I started having the dreams of, I'm like, man, this could be, I could do something big with this.
Right.
We could make this something big. So I started the whole navigation of, starting a nonprofit and filing the paperwork and everything else. So 2017, 2018 was the time that I started doing that. And, I did it all myself. I never hired a lawyer, never did anything. And come to find out, a lawyer looked at it after the fact and he's like, man, who did this? You did a pretty good job. Like you covered everything, which I was surprised. But, coming back to, everything happens for a reason. We did a coyote tournament with Vance Outdoors in Hebron. We did that for a few years, but I think it was the second year we did it. We asked Vance's, hey, do you think we can just do a 50-50, to kind of raise money for what we're doing for taking heroes out. And I had transferred the name into American Hero Hunt at that point. That's where that name had come from. And we raised exactly the amount of money that we needed to file our 501c3 online, $275. That's what we raised for our 50-50 that day doing that coyote tournament. So filed that, everything got approved. April of 2018, I think, is when we got our official letter in the mail. And since then, it's been a roller coaster ride, and I can't believe what we've done in the short amount of time. I was kind of thinking about that. Man, I've been doing this for like 7 years now. Even before it was officially a nonprofit. But I don't know. I can't, can't put into words what it does for me, let alone what it's, got to be doing, and I know what it's doing for other people.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we're 2 years in now, so the same thing is like, you're a little bit further along in the process of it, but there is, I think, when you're doing something where you're trying to give back to the veteran community, or deal with, because the tie to hunting we talk about, the hunting taking veterans out has a huge tie into what people are seeing into mental health, helping with that. So it is funny when you that like I asked you that question. I was about to ask you, like, when did you know that you wanted to turn? What was the deciding factor to do that? I was just thinking when I was going to ask you, I was like, I don't even know when I decided to say this is going to go from a podcast to a 501c3. It just kind of just popped in your head because, and I think a lot for me was you do start to see the impact that you're having on other people, which I think is important. But for me, it was about me too. Like, so it was about, every time I sit down and share time with people like you, it's therapeutic for me, to share.
The biggest reason for me starting the 501 is, myself and, a couple other guys, and especially Randy, our vice president, is, there for a year, we were doing it all out of our own pocket.
Right.
People aren't going to donate. Yeah, we got some gear donated and stuff like that. But people aren't going to donate unless they know it's a 501. Unless they know they're able to do something. And it's, it's the, I guess the optics of it, before you're an actual nonprofit, you're just some Joe Schmo, like asking for money. But until you're an actual nonprofit, and that was my big push for starting a nonprofit. It's like, guys, look at what we could do. If we,
exactly.
We're not going to be able to excel to what we want to do, or what I guess at that point, what I wanted to do, unless we start this 501. It's been, it's been amazing to see the doors open that have opened, even when we take a guy on a hunt, a veteran or first responder on a hunt, and then, to say I was thinking, even tonight, you're like, oh man, I got this connection.
Right.
And it's amazing where it ended up going.
So a little bit about it, you're not the only person doing this, right? That field, but it's a big thing. Just as I've talked about before, like, we're not the only people talking about mental health. We're not the only people that are, donating to scholarships in school. But it's like I looked at it as like a big net. Like, the bigger the net is that you can capture, it can help people that are struggling. That's what I do. So you guys are pretty unique. Like, you guys just talk about the charity to qualify to go on American Hero Hunt. You have to be either military or
so it's a veteran. Veterans and first responders. So it's, whether you're a vet, you're active duty, former police, retired, you name it, across the board. And we have you, basically just fill out an application on our website. And, the month before we do our trip, we sit down as a board and we go through all the nominations or applicants that are in for that hunt. Anywhere from, we've had 15, 30, 70, applications for a hunt or for a trip. And it makes it tough. It makes it real tough for us to go through and narrow them down. But it, to qualify, we have you upload so on our website, we have you upload your, picture of your ID or, a copy of your DD-214, your Facebook profile, stuff like that. So we can, we want to try to connect. It's, especially if we're doing a 3 or 4 day long hunt while we're camping out, setting up tent, hanging out, sleeping on cots and having a good time. We want to try to connect and bring those people, to our events and stuff like that. So, it's tough to narrow it down to 1 or 2.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So you have an applicant. Like, what do you got? I mean, you can be honest about it, or you don't have to. But like, what is your board looking for when you're looking through, like, there's 10 applicants, you have 1 slot? Like, what type of person you want to take on the hunt?
I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. So even before our board meeting, before that, the month before that hunt, they get sent out to all the board members, and those board members have to come to the meeting with, say we need 2, I'll have them bring their top 5. So, you bring your top 5, I'll bring my top 5, he brings his top 5. And then the ones who align across the board, you and I had Joe Schmo, he had Joe Schmo, so he'll get the top. He's got 3 votes, so on and so forth. So what we're looking for, and we try to tell people to, be elaborate. Don't just put Army, 97 to 34. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your family. Tell us about, what you like to do, the types of hunting you've done, whether you've never hunted, because that's a big thing for us too. If you've never hunted and if you've never hunted and you're a veteran or first responder, you need to be hunting. It's something you need to be doing. You need to get in the outdoors. But it's just, and it's different across our board. It's, there's 14 of us now. And, Randy will bring 3 different guys compared to what I'll bring. Randy's never been a military or first responder. I was, out of our group, I think there's 3 or 4 that have never been military and or still a first responder or retired first responder. So it's kind of amazing to see the numbers, the different array of people that they bring for their top 3 and their top 5. So it's, I can't say we're looking for anything specific. It's just what hits me or what hits,
exactly
or what hits, whoever's actually reading that application. So.
Now you were talking about some things, hunting. I pulled up some I had the quotes we talked about, but there's some, like, one of the things that, from a Michigan State University study, the mental health benefits for just being outdoors. It's a natural antidepressant, lowers blood pressure and heart rate, which I could probably deal with, reduces stress, and then sunshine increases vitamin D intake. And I think they miss being able to drink a bunch of beer and whiskey at the camp. But there's definitely, all joking aside, there's some things, and I just pulled some quotes from another guy who, another veteran that talked about it, said, hunting simulates a lot of the things during deployment, he said, but hunting isn't about killing, it's about making stories. That's from an Afghan veteran by the name of Patrick Perkins. So yeah, there's a lot of, there's, like you said before, I'm a veteran, I've never hunted. Never. I tried to go hunting one time in Fort Leavenworth with my roommate, and he's a gigantic hunter, but I didn't have a license, and he was like, you can't even go on the boat. It was just like I just want to sit on the boat there one duck. I mean, I just was like, no, but I mean, it's just something I never grew up with, right? So it was like, I think I talked to you about it at the event we were at together when we first met. It's just something that I've never been. But you start, as I start, that's interesting. Like I said before, whenever we have somebody on a podcast, I'm growing as well and learning some stuff. And like, there's just a bunch of stuff, like you see that, and some of the quotes that people have talked about that come with the hunting. There's a lot of, like, really good benefits of being out in the outdoors. And a lot of people think it is just about,
it's not about killing,
about harvesting an animal, but it's not necessarily what it's about.
When I first started this, and I first took my first guy, took those first guys out hunting, and even still a little bit, in the beginning of, actually forming the 501 and, the nonprofit and everything else, like, it's like, man, we got to get these guys on the big deer. Like, we got to get them on, we got to have a banger of a waterfowl hunt. We got to bag, we got to get bag limits, but, and it gives me goosebumps when I talk about it, because, for so many years now, it's been like, I'm all hands on, I've ran everything. I've planned this, I've done that. So when it comes to our 4-day hunts, like, we get one veteran shows up in camp, everybody's timid, like, he doesn't know us. We don't know him. You don't know who's coming, outside of what we've, found on our Facebook and everything else. But when, after the hustle and bustle of them arriving, making meals, cooking meals out in camp and everything else, and we're able to sit around the campfire, usually it's the second day, because it takes time for everybody to unwind. Usually the second day when, and I'll call him out on it, Mr. Eric Reed, he came into muzzleloader camp one year, and he was, I could tell he was very timid. Like, he wasn't adjusting well to getting there. But then by day 2.5, like, for me putting this on, it was for me to sit back and watch them around the campfire and cutting it up, enjoying a few adult beverages, talking about their stories that they need to talk about, the stuff that they've been, the stuff that they were able to leave behind at home and not have to worry about at home, but then, they're getting the stuff off the top of their head, the things that that's been mentally weighing them down. and they're able to sit there and just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. That's what does it for me. That's what keeps me going, keeps me doing all the back end stuff. Keeps me, being able to bust my butt at 11 o'clock at night doing stuff for whether it's this banquet coming up or planning the hunts, packing the trailer, doing all that stuff. That's what does it for me. Being able to see them, thankfully Eric was able to, he was able to harvest a nice, a real nice buck. Ended up getting it mounted and everything else. But for us as an organization and for me to be able to see that, that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like you said before, there's because some people look at different, but I don't give a shit what they think. But it's like there is a part of it that's selfish. What we're doing, you have the form to do that. You are getting something out of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. At the same time, you're helping somebody else. It's huge. I mean, that's been the big thing. Like people always talk about. Like the same thing. There's a lot of things that go behind the scenes and things that we're doing that, I'm always, part of it is, like I said before, every time I sit down with, someone like you, I always, even as we progress more, because like in the beginning I knew people are coming on, like I'm meeting people for the first time sometime or getting to know them, after like quick conversations. So there's a part of me that I'm healing, right? I'm feeling good about, there's a part I can sit back and be like, man, I'm providing something that someone is getting enjoyment out of, and that makes me feel good. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So
no, definitely, and that's like I said, that's what it's all about. We go on these trips, outside of snow goose hunt in Southern Illinois. Any other trip we go on, I don't hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to hunt. I don't. I plan it. I facilitate it. I watch these guys. I make sure and that's one thing I will. I'll boast about our organization. I know there's a lot of organizations out there that do what we do. We're not competing.
Yeah.
It's not a competition, but I pride in what we do is if you show up in camp, you don't do a dang thing. We're feeding you every single meal of the day. We are, we're giving you clothes from head to toe. We're providing everything you need to go through the weekend. And it's just, we don't want you to have to come and help set up camp or tear down camp. It's always ready to go. And we make you leave before we start tearing down camp. So
I was just one. Remember, I was one. Take it away. Remember that from winning?
Yeah, you were.
So close. I never won any raffle though. So I remember you reading that. I was like, I'm gonna win, and then I'm like, oh god.
And then I won your race.
That is true. I forgot about that. I'm like, I didn't win. Oh god, he won. I hate Justin. God damn it. But here's another quote I found, which is funny when you talk about hunting and kind of words that come about the military. But this is from Russell Worth Parker. It says, at the trial in which he was sentenced to death, Socrates famously declared, the unexamined life is not worth living. For me, and this is now Russell speaking, military service was about accumulating experiences as a means of examining life. Sometimes it is like living with the volume turned all the way up, a series of razor edge moments connected by stunning levels of boredom or discomfort or hysterical laughter. Those conditions, and sometimes closer than blood connections born of them, are exactly what I sought. They're also the primary thing I miss. I cannot revisit some of the most intense moments I experienced over the 3 decades. I'd likely skip or repeat some of them, but in civilian life, I found the essence of the best of them afield in the company of other hunters. So there's a lot of things you talked about. The same thing is that, the laughter, there's a lot of things that go into it other than just the actual harvesting of an animal. It's being around people that you're connected with. Every story I hear from hunters is the boredom. Like you'd probably be yelling at me if you had an earpiece, because like I'd be 5 minutes into it, if I didn't see anything, I'd be like on my phone.
On your phone's not bad as long as you're being quiet. And that's the thing, that's the thing about deer hunting. Deer hunting is a world of itself. Deer hunting, you have to be quiet. You got to sit there and be still. Yeah. You got to be quiet. But when you're waterfowl hunting, that's a blast, dude. Waterfowl hunting, you sit around just like this and cut, crack up, make fun of each other. When we went on this snow goose hunt out in Southern Illinois, we took 12 heroes out there. We did 6 for 2 days, and we took 11. It's supposed to be 12. 6 for 2 days, and then 5 for the next 2 days. The 6th one had some issues and couldn't come. But it's out there hunting snow geese. If you've never seen it, look it up on YouTube. Look up snow goose hunting on YouTube. Like you'll be blown away with the thousands and thousands of birds that you see. I mean, and we're all in ground in pit in a giant pit, and so it's a Connex box buried underground, most of them. And you crack up on each other, make breakfast down there. Like there's two guides up there looking out the hatches, watching for birds.
It sounds like being guard duty or like being in the foxhole.
I mean, you're down there cutting on each other, doing all kinds of stupid stuff, and then as soon as you say, "Oh, we got birds," you jump up, you grab your gun, and you just sit there and wait. It's a blast, and I would not,
That seems like more my hunting, the bird hunting, than because I would just be. I just hear so many stories about deer hunting, and I'm like a friend of mine, Mark. I've known him now for 10 years, and he goes on like a 2-week or 10-day, 2-week trip every year, and like he hasn't harvested anything. And I feel like all he does there is he talks about bragging about how he can drink 20 beers in a day. He's away from everybody. I feel like he just goes in the tree to be like, everybody leave me alone. But that's not a bad thing, right? Like, in all joking aside, getting away from it, being in the quiet, being away, being outdoors. It's not bad because a lot of people are doing it. I mean, all joking aside,
and that's with what we do, and our last out there in Illinois, we actually had we did a 2-part series of our own podcast about while we were out there, and brought some of the heroes on there, and they talked, and it's just and then they've since left reviews on our Facebook page and stuff like that, and every single one of them while we're there, it's like you have no idea how much I needed this, that's what they say to us. It's like for me to just forget about everything at home, everything that's going on at home, and just have to be waited on, hand and foot every meal, cabins are stocked, that's these guys. I mean, for them, like I said, we all need it. And if you're not doing it, you need to find something that does it for you,
something healthy.
Yes.
Something
healthy. Just find something
healthy. That's the struggle for a lot of people. But so like I said, there's people that are listening that they want, like, everybody has a great idea nowadays, and they should be like, you're like starting some stuff off. What was the hardest thing if you're giving anybody that wants to start a 501c3 or just like an organization, whether it's to help veterans or it's just to a YouTube channel to fix motorbikes, whatever? Like, for you, what was the hardest part about getting American Hero Hunt up and running?
I guess just the know-how. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer. I didn't have the money to have somebody do all the back end, and make sure it was done right. State, federal, you name it, all that stuff. So that was the biggest thing for me. I spent a lot of time online.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time online trying to figure out, like, hey, I can do it this way, and making sure I had it done it right. And, I contemplated doing like the Rocket Lawyer, stuff like that and everything else. But I just, if there's one thing that I could tell somebody, is just do it,
Yeah.
Don't think about what everybody else is going to think. Don't think about it. Just do it. Everything will fall in line. Everything will work itself out one way or another. Everything will work itself out. If it's meant to be, it'll be.
Yeah, because I'm like you. I did all the stuff on my own. I had no help, tax wise, lawyer wise. They're all looking at me as a joke, and I'm saying that for a joke for a reason, and I'm being dead serious about that. So the joke around is like, you can do it that way. One of the things I learned is starting up a 501c3 or a new organization is, honestly, a lot of people want to help, and if you're passionate about something, you can find other people that are passionate about it. And what I've learned and us starting up the past couple of years is, there's nothing wrong with asking people for help.
Right.
So if there is somebody that is a lawyer or somebody that is a CPA and things like that, like you just ask them, right? Like, talk to them, show them your passion. Yeah. Don't be afraid. If you go fucking balls to the wall, all's in, which is crazy, because I can't tell how many people. That's why I love having you on now. It's kind of an interesting thing. Is like, people think you're nuts, like, why you're doing this stuff, and I'm like, until probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I gave a shit. I don't give a shit anymore, like whether they agree with it or not. It's not them doing it. I don't give a fuck. But the key thing is to find people that share your passion, right? So, and to ask for help, because there's a lot of people that want to help, and there's a lot of people that are expertises and other things. And if you show that passion and help, and so I'm completely joking. I was blessed to have really good friends and people that saw the vision. So a lot of the stuff that you went through on your own, I was able to be like, hey, will you help me? And I'm
I guess I'm probably
yeah,
smart.
I'm humbled by it because it really shocks me that people, some of the people I knew well, other people like sort of well, but it's just crazy how quickly that people will help. You just have to put yourself out there. You have to you have to put it out there, and some people are going to look at you like you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But I've been really fortunate to have people behind the scenes that have stepped up. That I find myself, I'm always like, are they doing enough? But at the same time, I'm like, I can't fucking believe these guys are even like,
still around.
yeah, no, they even like thought about doing this. I mean, it was crazy. But I tell anybody, like you said before, it's good advice. Is like fucking grind through it. Like if you're gonna do it, do it. I had somebody about the podcast. It was like I was hem hawing about it. They said, "Can you buy the shit?" Yes. Obviously, it's not working right now, but if you can buy the shit and you can afford the money that starts, like that's what a lot of people don't understand. And we're the same way now. We're like, I don't know what the right terminology is, but we're very cognizant about being a young 501c3 organization that we make sure that a lot of the money that we're being like good shepherds of people's money. But yeah, like I had some money that I could throw into it and just fucking do it, and then don't be afraid to ask for help. That's a huge thing, because a lot of people that are like, they want to help and they have this, they're looking for somebody to help. I mean, and be part of the team. So
yeah, ask them what they can do, and that's I've done it for so long on my own.
Right.
That's my downfall. My downfall is to hand it off to somebody else and be like, hey. But then also when you're talking about asking people for help, a CPA or whoever, like, go sell it. That's kind of where I might be scarred on that aspect. I've changed a lot since then, but growing up and asking for permission for hunting, walking up to somebody's door. We've never owned enough. I've never owned enough land to hunt on my own land. I mean, I hunt a little bit now where I'm at, but 9 times out of 10 you're going to get turned down.
Yeah,
but that 10th one is the one that's going to open the door for for everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So and that's like you said, just be passionate about what you do and sell it, and you'll be amazed at the people that jump on your wagon and help you get down the road and do what you need to do.
Yeah, because I honestly struggle with the same thing you said before. Is I have my vision of how things should go and like how I see things, but if you back off and let people just do their things, they'll do their things. Like it's funny what's happening down here in the basement. People can't see is like one of the guys is up there listening, but he's also working on the web page. There's one of the guys that's down here, like he can't even drink right now, but he's here and he's just been killing some stuff. I don't know what Josh is doing right now. The audio, he's supposed to be handling it, but no, all joking aside, it's hard because like we've talked about all these guys in the basement. We've talked about it, and it's a topic because it's hard because you have a passion for something, right? So you think that somebody else can't have that same level of passion that you do, and when you really like take a deep breath, step back, and just like
let them
evaluate yourself, you can watch real quickly about how things are happening, and it's pretty powerful to do that. So yeah, if anybody's out there, it's a great advice is just fucking do it. Like Justin said, and the other part of it is like my thing is just ask for help. I mean, the worst someone's gonna tell you is no, right?
Yeah, I mean that's get 9 no's before you get that yes, and that yes is the one that would have been better than those 9 yeses that came before.
But some people can't deal with no, man. Like
no,
they can't hear people say no, and you're like all like thrown off, and dude, like what do you do? Like I don't
take it
like
personal, which sometimes.
It is a hard thing to do. I think it just I mean I'm like I'm more of like you tell me no. Like I've been in sales for a while. You tell me no, then just makes me want to keep bothering you more and more, and then I just want you to say yes so I can tell you no. I don't want to evaluate how dysfunctional that is, but but it is a great thing. So how you doing over there? You done chugging?
I got a little sip left.
Okay.
I'm sipping this second one.
I mean, the first one, I was like, holy shit, I can't keep up with you. I've had dry January, damp February.
What's March?
Yeah, we're in March. Holy shit, we are in March. But it's like, I'm free. No, I'm kidding. No,
7 days into March, bud.
I mean, I can't even. How many times I drink in March? I don't want to go on camera and say that. No. But are you ready? Are you ready to go over the next one?
Sure.
So we're gonna change it up to a different distillery. but we're staying on the bottle and bond theme.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had a Henry McKenna before?
I have not.
Okay, interesting.
It's like his Heaven Hill I had earlier.
Yeah, that earlier. So that's another one we're working to feature that, but we put it up here. That's another Heaven Hill product. But
that's pretty good.
Yeah, we talked about Heaven Hill numerous times. They are. I like to say this. I'm surprised I haven't got it memorized, but it's in Bardstown. It's the 7th largest alcohol supplier in the United States, the 2nd largest holder of bourbon whiskey inventory in the world, and the largest independently family-owned operated distillery in the United States, and the only large family-owned distillery company headquartered in Kentucky. So there's a lot going on there. But if you haven't seen Heaven Hill, it's pretty big, and they've got a bunch of great shit. I mean, anything from Heaven Hill is pretty good.
How close is that to Frankfurt?
Maybe like an hour. I don't know.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to make it.
It's not far. I mean, it's definitely, if you haven't been to Bardstown, you have to go. You have to go to Bardstown. Bardstown is like, Frankfurt, Buffalo Trace. I love it's a mecca. I love Buffalo Trace, but Bardstown is really kind of like bourbon.
Right.
The bourbon headquarters. If you talk about, there's a bunch of different distillers. Willet, Bardstown Bourbon Company. What else am I missing? There's Lux Row. It's a bunch of different places. Josh is just nodding at me. He's not giving me information at all. He's just nodding like, yeah, Chad, you're doing great, Chad. You're doing great. Nobody can hear you, but you're doing great. But they've hit a bunch of stuff. I got to stop harassing Josh because I still need his help with something. I love you, Josh. So, Heaven Hill produces a bunch of different brands. Like you said before, you've got the 7-year bottle and bond there. They've done Evan Williams, Elijah Craig, Old Fitzgerald, Larceny, and then Henry McKenna, which is an interesting one. So I picked this one because it's kind of funny. We had the small batch, and most people will gravitate towards E.H. Taylor single barrel. People will like lose their mind.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, not age stated, right? So 7 to 10 years old. We don't know how it is, but Henry McKenna, 10 years old. It's age stated. Yeah. Henry McKenna, the brand was created by an Irish immigrant, Henry McKenna, who came to the United States in 1837 and settled into Kentucky with the premise of like building, the best whiskey he can based on a family recipe. He was able to, adopt his family recipe to what grains and were found in Kentucky. And today, like, Henry McKenna single barrel is one of the longest aged bottle and bond bourbons that are out there. So it's definitely, say you see 7 years from the same distillery, 10 years. So that's a big deal. So what put that on the map? Like, it's funny, like I've been in bourbon for a long time. If you went to like 2017, 18, nobody cared about Henry McKenna. It was like $39-$40. Well, lo and behold, they go to the San Francisco World Spirits Competition in 2018. They kill it. They get the best single barrel. They get the best bourbon. And then in 2019, they win best in show for whiskey. And they're actually, it's only the second time a bourbon won the top prize among whiskeys all over the entire world, including Scotch. So if you haven't had it, this is Henry McKenna, 10 years old, 100 proof, mash bill, 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and 10% rye. So give it a whirl. It's just funny to watch. Like, everybody loves Henry McKenna now. Looks, really? Yeah, but we had a technical difficulty that nobody saw off the camera, but good job on that. Good recovery. It does not come with a black cork on the top, but just shows how long I've had this. I was looking at this. So this one's actually barreled in this was from 2018. So it's before you were even drinking whiskey. Were you old enough to drink whiskey back then? I'm kidding. A little bit of cork in there that makes it good, though.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. I don't see any in there.
You guys want some? Oh, they don't want that though. They're like, no, we don't do that.
It's good.
It's pretty good.
That's good.
But it's always interesting about, like, that's what I'm saying, is like there's definitely the E.H. Taylor, everybody kind of still goes crazy for it.
Well, and that's everybody's crazy about the Buffalo Trace line right now.
Yeah, it's
terrible because it's hard when I go down there. I want to get this,
Yeah.
get a ball. I haven't been anytime that I've been there. I haven't been able to get E.H. Taylor. They haven't had.
Yeah, so Buffalo Trace, but you have to go back to the days. I don't even think they really you had to wait. At least now it's kind of on a schedule, and it's funny. Like when we talked about starting things up and 501c3s. There's a guy that he predicts what's going to be on there the next day. Yeah. This guy's got a webpage. I always laugh. I'm like, I feel like it's pretty. The 2 times I've had him predicted, he didn't get it right, so it's all right. Somebody said Henry McKenna gave a bottle away. It was horrible. 2016 bottle. What was it? 2018 when they won.
It must have changed something.
No, I mean, but what you have to understand, if you're being honest about it, there's interesting things about it. Is that like $150 bottle now? Is E.H. Taylor single barrel? What's that? $250 now? Probably going like 250, 200 or so. It's not. That's not worth it either for a 7 or 10 year bourbon. But yeah, it's but back to Buffalo Trace. They have a daily release. So if you're down the area, go on there, Google what is Buffalo Trace having. This guy has a webpage, will tell you, but they do release it every day. And then they've actually changed now. You're on you're on a 90 day.
So for any of the top tier bottles, you're 90 days before you can buy another one.
Yeah, so if you go there and you get if you get Blanton's, you can't get another bottle of Blanton's for 90 days, which is good because a lot of people, the locals, were just showing up every day. And
when I went down there the one time, it was a tour, and they said the Blanton's hut only puts out 750 bottles a day.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you why it's pretty scarce for the most part.
I like that Henry McKenna. It's been a while since I've had. Obviously, that bottle's been around for a while. It's a little corny for me.
Yeah,
but compared to the other thing, but it's a 10-year. I mean, what it used to be at a great price. I still prefer the Heaven Hill 7-year that you had earlier. If I'm being honest with you,
but I had earlier, it was really good.
Yeah. But so you have the bottle and bond memorized now, so you can go back and amaze your friends with it.
Yeah.
I can memorize all these things, and everyone's like, "Yeah, but I can't even tell you what my son's majoring in." I can't remember my kid's birthday. That's why I have a tattoo. But no. Let's get back to American Hero Hunt. So
I mean it's we're sitting close to 70 heroes, right at 70 heroes that we've taken on some kind of an outing, some kind of a trip, anywhere from pheasant hunts, waterfowl hunts, whitetail hunts.
What about fishing? No fishing yet?
Fishing. So yeah, we do walleye trips up on Lake Erie.
Yeah.
This year we are doing a head boat, so we're going to take out a big group up on a head boat out of Lake Erie. Whitetail season we do every season. Whitetail we do every season. So we do actually 2 bow hunts. We do 2 guys for a shotgun hunt, and then we do 1 guy for a muzzleloader hunt. So it used to just be in the fall we were really busy, but now it's year round. And now I don't have a downtime, and luckily I have a saint for a wife. She, American Hero Hunt would not be today, or I'd be divorced, one of the two.
Did she make you say that?
No.
Just want to make sure.
No. She might be watching, but
just blink. Hey, just wink at me if she made you say that.
No, I mean, she puts up with me. Like I said, I'm at almost every event. I mean, up until the last year and a half or so, we've started having conflicting events, conflicting fundraisers, or set up here, set up shop here, or whatever. But I've been at almost everything, and for her to be at home and raising my 2 kids, putting up with my 2 boys, they're rough, tough boys. For her to be able to do that while I'm gone for these weekends here and there, American Hero Hunt would not be what it is today. And I just, it's amazing for me what we're able to do for heroes, for veterans and first responders to give them that release, give them that, that mental reset, bring them back to the camaraderie of, hanging out with guys for the weekend and talking about military, talking about, anything. I mean, it's an open floor. You talk about whatever you want. And it's just for us to be able to do that, and for our community, I always say it takes a village for what we do. It takes it takes a village for what you do. And
I try not to tell them about that. Try to keep them
down.
Try to keep them down. So they're trying harder and striving harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no,
you guys aren't doing enough, by the way. I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm gonna get beat up after this podcast. No, but it is true. I mean, it
takes a village.
So back. So you have your number. You're number 70, right?
We're close to 7. I don't know the exact number. I'd have to look at it for sure. But yeah, we're pushing 70.
Okay, so I had a question here,
and that's from 2016 till now.
So I've looked at your webpage. Mm-hmm. You have some of the heroes that have put their comments in there. Most impactful person that you took out of the 70, who do you remember the most, and why? Putting the pressure on you.
I'd have to say Eric Reed from Chillicothe. That guy, we've taken a couple of amputee guys, guys that have prosthetics. We've taken, you name it, across the board. But him and Brad Watts. So Brad Watts came from Georgia, was on muzzleloader hunt, freezing cold. But we had our wall tent, our canvas 18 by 20 wall tent set up with a wood burner, you name it, all the meals, everything.
I'm just nodding like I know you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Muzzle loaders, I know about that. That's the only thing I understood it, all that.
You load that.
Did you have a solo stove? Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I'm getting that.
No solo.
Whoa.
No jet stoves. But we, for him, so he came in, and Brad Watts came from Georgia. Eric Reed was from Chillicothe, and like I was talking earlier, them two, like they were 2 peas in a pod. Like they were reserved guys. They were guys that were coming into camp and like really had nothing to say other than shaking your hey, nice to meet you, type of thing. And and we have that across the board. Veterans and first responders are humble, and I'll talk about that in a little bit about like. They don't think they deserve it. They don't think they deserve to be where they're at and doing what they're doing. They're just like anybody else. We signed that line. We chose to do that. We weren't forced to do it. But for him, like I said, that second day, when we were sitting around in the tent, like I said, it was freezing cold out. We were sitting around inside the tent, around the wood burner, playing cards. And for him to get to the point, I knew when that point was. Like, he started talking about things that he's been hanging on to for a long time. And it's almost going to bring tears to my eyes, because for him and Brad to both get to that point, and I mean, they both did it. And for them, we ended up staying up till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's all they were doing, is talking stories back and forth. And that is probably the most impactful hunt that I've been on, for Eric Reed and Brad Watts, for them guys to be able to come away with what they did, or, get the release or talk about what they did while they were there. I keep up with them a little bit. Brad Watts is still active. I know Eric Reed, he works for the VA down in Chillicothe. For them guys to get out of what they got, for just taking a couple guys hunting. It's a lot of work for what we do, setting up camp and planning all the meals and having our families make meals. But for us to just get back to a couple guys to take hunting, and for them to do what they did, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you're saying that feel the same way. It's like I was hoping you'd cry more, because I like when everybody cries. I can't lie. When you cry, then I start crying. I feel freaking good about crying. I love to cry. But I think a lot of it, like you said before, like what the things you said before, is like to create an environment. Like, so I see it as like creating an environment where people feel safe to come and share things. Like I'm humble that some people come down here that have been down here like you, like almost start crying. Like, it's not normal. Like, right. I'm so humbled by that, to be able to, like, that somebody feels safe. And that's the shocking part about this whole thing. And I can't lie, that it feels really good to me. It makes me, well, if it makes all the motivation that you're doing everything you're doing, right?
If it didn't, you wouldn't continue.
I still probably would. I don't know why that is, but I do know why it is, because I think it's a good cause. It's like it's a forum to be able to do something. I have the ability to do that, and I feel comfortable with it, and I'm okay with that. But there is something to be said where that everybody does the hard work, all the hard work that people don't see, right? It's huge when anybody can really share and be open about who they are, right? Because most of the time nobody wants to, and most of the time, like every time I'm talking to you guys, you know, there's a couple, like even the board that people have been like, oh, when are you going to get on? When am I going to sit over there and like somebody interview me? I feel like I've been interviewed like every like 51 episodes. I feel like I throw some stuff out there, to that. But yeah, when you see the benefits of like what you've created, it's huge, right? Like there's a lot of things that go into it. It makes me feel like on top of the world. It's better than, it's better than getting a paycheck. It's better than.
I actually just told somebody this the other day. So like I still feel we're small. Like I still feel like I'm not doing enough. I still feel like, but then I have people that I run into, like this last weekend. We were up in Youngstown setting up at a fishing expo. I have people that I have no idea who they are, but they've heard about us. Right. They've seen our Facebook page. They've seen some of our YouTube videos. They know what we do. And that's where, I don't know. Maybe I'm bigger. Maybe we're bigger as an organization than I actually think. But that's, I don't think, I think we can do more. And I'm excited to see what happens just in the next, 2 to 3, 5 years for us.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling like you're not alone. That feeling, right? Like you always feel like you're not like doing the right thing. And I've been down here off the camera, and some of these guys have given me a lot of shit about some stuff, but and put it in perspective, which is important. Like so, like you're the 51st person to come down here, and like when I think about it, I'm like 51 isn't that big a deal. Dudes are throwing up like 250 episodes. I'm kind of like, there's a party that's like you're not doing nothing. I'm like. 51 is huge. Like that's a lot of people. It's huge. Crazy. Yeah. And what I care about now is like that you come down here, that I'm able to share your story or help you share your story, to be able to facilitate it. That's huge for me. Like but it is normal. You want to do more, right? You want to make a bigger impact. Like, but I mean, I got to look back and be like, today was funny because like you're looking or prepping for like, you go back and look at like Buffalo Trace or Heaven Know we talked about it. So like you got to do the copy and paste, and I look at that and I'm like, and I go back to like episode 16, like one of the guys, and I was like, that seems like forever ago for this organization, but it feels like forever ago, but it was like a blink of the eye. And then like it is normal, but like you just got to keep pushing, right? Like I think like if it's 51 people that have come down here and been able to share their story, I'm happy with that. That's 51 people that may have never had the opportunity to do that. It's 70 some guys have never been able to go on a hunt. Yeah, that's huge. Definitely.
No, I feel like if you're not, if you're not thinking you're big enough, if you're not thinking the way we are, like if you're not thinking that way, then you're gonna plateau. Where if we continue to think that way, we're gonna continue to push to do more, push to, like you said, reach more guys to come down here and give their story, and give them a chance to talk about what they need to talk about. And that's the same for us, for American Hero Hunt, being able to take them, on a trip of some kind where, whether they harvest or something or not, it's icing on the cake. But what happens in camp is where it's at.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I probably agree with that. Yeah.
We want the publicity, like, oh man, they shot it. We want the Facebook post. Of,
what did somebody put in there? Like Josh has to go back. Somebody was like, they're killing bucks and like big bucks and like all the. Yeah. I mean, you did get pictures of killing, but yeah, I think but that's what a lot of people think is like, what is the end goal, right? Like, right. So I have to like throw my man card up there. Like, I haven't hunted, but I do like. I've done a lot of like deep sea fishing. I love that, and I kind of feel it the same way. It's like you go out there, you don't know what you're gonna get, right? Yeah. But there's a thing of like being out there, just the whole point of like trying, like and doing it, and like when it happens, it's good. But the whole experience is like it's crazy. So, but I've seen people that have lost their mind because like I didn't catch this, I didn't catch that. I'm like, well, you're not guaranteed anything.
You're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean,
I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't want to judge people, but yeah, it's
Right.
different. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if you're, I mean, if you're, and I know some guys that are big buck hunters, but they put the time in to kill.
Yeah.
You know, they grow these big bucks. They put years of time into this one deer to kill this one deer. But if you're only going out there and in the hopes of only
yeah.
that's all you want to do, I mean, whatever floats your boat. But that's not for me.
I'm still trying to figure out how I can convince my wife that we can sit out on the back porch and harvest one of the deer that come through our yard in the name of American Hero Hunt and be like,
tastes good on the grill.
it's just
that's all you need.
My backyard is like, it's crazy. There's like 4 doe. I think one of them just got hit. Actually, I saw them on the road. But like, there's 2 big buck that are like, they just run. Like, you can go out to the car in the morning and they're just sitting around like there's nothing going on. I'm like, God damn it! And then
oh yeah,
we can feed them, right? And I just trying to figure out how I work that into Pours with Patriots, American Hero Hunt. My wife is still not having that.
Come in the door.
Oh.
And you have a legal,
legally kill. My wife is like, no, that's not gonna work for my wife's like, we have to adopt this deer.
Right. Yeah.
Don't get me started about that.
Be the family pet.
But also harvesting for me, like, so the funny thing about my family is my wife will not eat anything venison. Like, dude, I'm 100% like, it's like, she's gonna get really mad. Really? She's gonna get really mad if she listens to this, but she's probably not because the audio is bad. But I one time slipped in venison meat into chili. Mm-hmm. She ate the shit out of it, and I was just like,
"Yeah,
if only she knew." She's like, and then she's like, I told her, "You ate venison." She's like, "No, I didn't." I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You like this. So there's a part of me like, so if you're gonna like harvest, she comes, no, but
she's storming down there,
just rolling down. No, I can't believe I admit that. But so there's a part of me honestly about like taking deer, like it's important. Like if I were to harvest a deer, like what do I do with it? Because like my boys would probably eat it, but like I know you can give it away, but there's like a lot of stuff that like I think about that too with
oh yeah, no,
with like the things like I want to go hunting. I've always wanted to do it.
You have to have a purpose for hunting. If you're going hunting just to kill something, that's that's not it, man. That is not it.
I mean, venison smokies. I mean, there's so many great things that come out of deer. If you haven't, I mean, like, I'm sorry, but
so good.
Love it, yeah. Don't tell my Jana you ate venison one time. Sorry, you like that
chili, like tacos. I mean, jerky, deer jerky. Oh my gosh, man.
So many good stuff. Yeah. Fishing, but I mean,
so speaking of that, like, what do you do with the deer? Like we've 3-4 times now. We bought everything we need to butcher and process a deer in camp. So 3 or 4 times now when guys come in, we do the whole thing right there. Vacuum seal it. Especially for guys that are out of state.
Right.
Guys that are out of state, they can't transport whole carcasses out of state.
Right.
So we do it all right there in camp, vacuum seal it in bags, labeled, put it in a cooler, and they can take it all home. So
just give me some of them. I love like we have a guy Ed who always hooks up with Ed Pelican. If you haven't, we've all had his. Everyone's all like, he kills deer, and we're just we reap the benefits. It's great, but no, that's huge. Like I mean, so your favorite hunt? What's your favorite type of hunt to go on? Like all of a sudden, like not. Taking Che or Joe on their first hunt. Like, what's your favorite animal hunt?
My favorite animal to hunt?
Other than human, but
whitetail. Whitetail hunting. I mean deer hunting.
Yeah.
Deer hunting. I mean it's the challenge of I mean that's what it is. It's the chase. You know, it's the challenge of beating that deer's nose or being able to outsmart that deer. Being in the place that he wants to go, and for us as an organization, most of our deer hunts are camps. Like, we set up camp, we set up a tent, cots, fireplace, you name it. That's, we cook all the food out there on site. That's, for us to camp out, for 3.5, 4 days. That's always fun.
You're making me feel really bad about listening by one. So close.
That'd have been a pheasant.
Was it a pheasant?
Yeah,
Missed. Shit. I think I'm more apt to the beer, the bird,
Beer
the fowl,
thing?
the beer, yeah, beer,
thing?
fowl. But I mean, I would like to. I mean, I would actually. Like, I've joked around about like I would like to get into deer hunting a little bit. I think that'd be fun to get out there and
Like I
kind
said,
of.
deer. I mean, there's just it's if you're gonna hunt all the species, it's expensive.
Oh, I know that's my thing. Is I just don't have.
You know, if you're gonna
Jay does not need another hobby.
Right. If you're gonna deer hunt and you're gonna waterfowl hunt,
I got to sell something I don't want to sell.
right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the tough.
I mean, I'm trying to get that cool vest you got. You're like, this is expensive vest. Like, that's a kick-ass vest over there, right? He's like, you don't. That's like $300. Jay, you don't want that.
$200. I'm not happy about.
And
that,
theoretically, a deer, if you're wearing that, a deer cannot see you if you're wearing that.
It's very comfortable.
It's
very comfortable, very warm. So that's one reason why I love it. But yeah, so I mean, it's American Hero Hunt and what it has, what it has turned into. I think we're on our way to what my dreams and goals are. And I think it's gonna happen quicker than it's gonna happen quicker than what I think it is.
Why do you think that is?
We have a good group of guys. We have a good group of board members. I say guys, and we got one girl, Jess, our treasurer. But we're going in the right direction. We're doing the right things. And I think, there's a lot of potential out there for us to blow up real quick. And be, we've already gone a little bit nationwide, and that was one of our goals is to start doing hunts in other states, start reaching, it's the only thing we require as, if you get selected for a hunt is for you to get where we're hunting. After that, we cover everything. We cover, if you're out of state, we cover your license.
Well, you're not flying us on private jets here?
Not yet.
Oh, shit.
Not yet. But, that's, and for
I'll take a helicopter.
That's fine.
Okay.
That means we can do helicopter hog hunts down in Texas.
Ooh.
So, but for us to start doing out-of-state hunts, that's huge for us to reach heroes out of state that wouldn't have to drive all the way to Ohio to hunt. Wouldn't have to fly to Ohio for us to pick them up at the airport to hunt. So that's big. That's big for me.
So I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for to call my father-in-law, who always listens to Mike Marcassiano. Mike, he's not listening tonight. He will be listening. Got a bunch of land in New York, always bragging about big deer and a bunch of his land. Mike, it's time. I'm calling you. I'm calling you out. Justin's calling you out. I'm gonna give Justin your number. He doesn't take no for an answer. Mike's like a grumpy old Italian guy in the 70s. Just keep.
I'm telling you,
putting the screws to him.
We had some Italian guys. We went
upstate New York. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we had some guys. We went down to Southern Hall Outfitters. We had some Italian guys in there, and they were a blast. Just back for muzzleloader season. It was a good time.
But Mike, I'm going to give me your number just so you know. All the shit you've given me in your entire life, I'm giving Justin, all 14 of the board members, your number. You better man up. But Mike's a veteran. Mike's a Vietnam veteran, so he should fall in line with this cause, right? And he's got a bunch of bear. Like I don't know what the rules, but he's got some bear. Yeah, a bunch of bear. Black bear.
They have certain rules for certain stipulations.
I mean, my mother-in-law thinks they're harmless. She's always feeding them and stuff, but they're like, oh, look at these cute little black bears in their cups. I don't know. But Mike, you're gonna fucking give a hunt for American Hero Hunt. Oh, and I'm going. Can I go on that one? If I secure that, can I go on that one? Only to fuck with my father-in-law. That's the only reason I care.
Yeah, you come hang out.
I don't know if I'm ready for deer hunting though, man. I'm gonna stick to the fowl.
Shoot a bear.
Any kind of fishing you're doing?
Shoot a bear.
I'd shoot. I feel like I'd shoot a bear quick because I'd shoot a deer though. I don't know why though.
Bear meat's good. You gotta watch how you cook it, but it's good.
I'm gonna ask you a really obscure question about hunting. So,
what's that?
I don't want people to judge me, and they probably will. But one of the things we talk about at lunch constantly at work is whether Bigfoot exists or not.
No.
Okay, so I'm with you in the fact that Bigfoot does not exist. So we like I said, we talk about this constantly for about 10 years, which I don't know how you can talk about it for 10 years, but we do. So it's evolved into like, say you're hunting, You see Bigfoot. You see a Bigfoot. Do you shoot it or not? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you too, man.
of course. I mean, why wouldn't you?
100%. Well, I've heard different stories. I've heard like, what if it's somebody dressed in a Bigfoot costume fucking around? That's kind of falls into the fuck around to find out. Like if you're like 10 miles into like the woods and you're dressed as Bigfoot, I guess, you deserve to get shot, right?
Yeah, I guess if that's
And then the other part of it's like, someone's like, oh, it could be the last Bigfoot on Earth, and you do. But my thing is like, I want to shoot it because obviously you kill Bigfoot, you bring it, you harvest Bigfoot, you're gonna be rich. Number one. And then you're gonna be able to like just tell everybody they've been full of shit for this life.
The man that shot Bigfoot.
Dude, I mean that's a big move, right? You're like the guy you're holding, they got him hung up by, I don't know how it goes, but I'm with you. I'm like, everybody says they wouldn't, like I have a friend Mark, the same guy's like, I wouldn't shoot him. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? I'd be like, the only thing would depend on like what kind of caliber weapon you had, right?
Yeah, I mean
it's like a 7-foot thing. If you're like a 22, like, I don't, I mean, but not through hunting with that. But I'm down with you. I mean, if you have said like no, I'd have been like,
if it's gonna take down a deer, it's gonna take down a Bigfoot. So
what was that?
If it's gonna take down a deer, it's gonna take down a Bigfoot. So
theoretically, do you eat it? Okay, Bigfoot question part 2. Do you eat it? Ooh, I didn't think we were gonna get it. We have never discussed that in the 10 years in my lunch thing. Ooh,
that's like
I am down for eating Bigfoot.
That's like
what's about?
That's like coyote. I mean, I wouldn't.
I mean,
I will never try eating coyote.
You wouldn't eat Bigfoot, bro? You're like the same guy. Don't get into the whole thing of like the new Netflix movie about the soccer team that was in the Andes that they like. There was like one dude who didn't eat people and he died. He was like 87 pounds when he died. But I think I would. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't answer that quickly, but
we'll try it, I guess. Right?
I mean, you'd be the first person to do it, right? I mean, so you're no to eating Bigfoot.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence.
Would you get like stuffed and like pose in like your corner stuff?
Though? You'd be sitting where that barrel's at, right?
I mean, I'd have him in like a vicious pose, like. Yeah, I think I would eat it. I would at least try. I'd at least try it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to try. You'd have to try something.
It's like bear. It depends on how you cook it. Somebody put this is all conversations that I can't wait to. It may be the guys from where I don't, but this is like it's like bear. It depends on how you cook it. I would be down for it. I feel like if you harvest it, like. I don't know, because it would be like everyone's wanting to study and stuff. So that's the only thing I would say.
You'd have to take like an arm or leg or something.
Yeah, but I think you got to see like what is like, dude. But think of this flex, right? You're at your house, you're hanging out. You're like, are you liking this whiskey? Hey, would you like a fucking Bigfoot jerky? Dude, someone's like, what? You're like, you remember I'm the guy that killed Bigfoot. And the guy's going to take a piece of Bigfoot jerky and be like, well, that's good or not. You're like, that's right, motherfucker. I killed Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I think I'd make jerky out of him just to brag a little bit. I don't know how that sounds about it.
Probably about the only
maybe my application. I won't put that in my American Hero Hunt application. I can't believe you said. So you're no. But if you did have to eat him, what would you make out of Bigfoot?
Jerky.
It's
like goose hunting. You know, most geese. I mean, you make jerky out of them. They're really good. Anything else, it's unless you slow cook them in a crock pot or something like that with a goose, like Canadian goose. But yeah,
I don't know if I've had fowl. A lot of fowl.
The smaller the bird, the better it tastes. So your teal, your wood duck, mallard, all the way up to snow, or all the way up to goose. You know.
I hate turkey. I hate turkey.
Smoked turkey?
Dude, I fucking hate turkey. Like smoke it, fried it, like deep fry it.
I smoked turkey.
Or donkey it. What is like when you take a fucking chicken and what is that called? I hate turkey.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
even with that, like Thanksgiving, it's the worst thing. It's like I don't know.
I usually don't eat it either. I mean, but smoke it, like smoked turkey, like smoked turkey breast or tenderloins. It's really good. I like it.
I think if you smoke anything, it tastes a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
so we're making some jokes here. We're smiling a bit. So
That's what it's about.
it is.
That's what it's about.
It is about smiling, having a good time. But one of the things we like to talk about is the deep stuff. Like I almost had you crying earlier. So, I've been pretty open. I've shared, some struggles with mental health, PTS and stuff, and depression. What about you?
I can't. I mean, I can't say I've shared much, but I have it. I mean, that's, I've from my knee injury to, it's now, I've been to many doctors. I've had 2 surgeries on my knee. I've had, multiple just in the last month. I've had multiple injections in my back. I just had my nerves burned, not yesterday, but the day before, lumbar wise. But, it's, I think everybody, if you say you don't deal, if you say you're not dealing with something, you're lying. Especially in today's society, in today's world, the pressures of today, um, will weigh on you. You're expected to, just maybe I put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm sure we all do, but we've got family to support. We've got our 501s, the things that we do for this and that. And, I definitely have, I have issues in my life that I still hang on to. But for me to do what I do with American Hero Hunt, is definitely, I guess a coping mechanism, so to speak. It feels good to give back. It feels good to make somebody feel good. It feels good to give somebody that time to be able to do what they do. So, it's, uh, you know, I, I, I've met you before. We've met briefly. I don't really know you from Adam. You don't know me from Adam, but it's, you need to talk.
Yeah.
That's don't I guess don't hold it in. I mean, it's not grown men can cry. There's been times in my life where crying may have seemed stupid at the moment, but it's something that it's a natural function that God has given our body, and it's not something that the biggest thing is just talk, man. It's not you see people post all the time on Facebook like, "Hey, call me." Like, I don't care what time of day it is. No,
Yeah.
like, literally, call me. Like, talk to me. I mean, it's not. I'll talk to you for hours about nothing. It doesn't matter. I'd rather talk to you on the phone than not talk to you and see you at your funeral. So.
Right. 100%. Yeah. I think a lot of the thing is like there's a part of like in my journey in the past few months is like the one thing about it is great to help other people, but you have to help yourself, right? So that's important. You like the only person you really can help is yourself. And by helping others you can be helping yourself, but there's definitely like the talk, and we've always talked about that with Boys of Patriot is like to be there, right? Like people want to listen. It's like I said earlier about starting a 501c3, right? It doesn't matter what it is. There's people that want to listen. You just have to find that person, right? And you just have to talk about what you're feeling. And a lot of times for me, like personally, like when I talk about how I'm feeling with like safe men, right? I quickly realize that I'm kind of full of shit in some aspects and stuff, and that it's not as bad as I think it is, or it could be a lot worse. So there's a lot of people that finding that right person that can cut through, like you talked about society. You said something was huge.
Yeah.
Like in today's world, there's no way you're not overwhelmed by something like you're not making enough money. You don't have enough followers on TikTok. You don't have a nice enough car. You're not,
You're not keeping
your kids. You don't go to whatever school. You're not keeping up with the Joneses has gotten. I mean, that's still a saying, but it's gotten completely crazy. But in today's world, it's just.
And my last name's Jones.
Yeah, I mean, you're not keeping up with Justin Jones. You're wrong. If you have more than 70 hunts, he's going to find you. But
it don't take much.
What's that?
It don't take much to keep up with me.
No, but see, that's not true. That's 100% not true. Come on, that's like a negative thing. You're doing great things, man. You're fucking raising 2 kids. You've been busting your ass for tons of years. You served your country. You're the president of a 501c3 that's doing things like, dude. Some people are never going to do that. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
And that, like I said,
Yeah.
that's where, I guess that's where, I'm caught up in myself as far as like, we're still, I'm not doing enough, that type of thing. You know what I mean?
That's society, right? We're on that about the whole, like, I mean, it's a tough place to live.
Yeah.
2024 is a tough place to live about that because everything's out there. Like, it's not small. Like, it used to be a small town where they knew about everything. Now everybody knows about all your shit. Because a lot of times people are putting it out there. That's the other thing too. It's like I actually hate Facebook, which is funny that we're doing this. But the platform of, like, if it wasn't for whiskey and what I'm doing now, I find myself on there. I'm like, there's not a lot of great things that are coming from this.
No, if it wasn't for our organization living or dying by social media,
it's crazy.
I would not have Facebook.
Yeah.
No, I would not. I've had, I mentioned working at a certain place was pretty rough. I've had a few people that, still work there and used to work there, try to cut me down over social media, try to take me down over, things and stuff like that. And, even calling out some of our, Cabela's is a huge supporter of ours here in Flutters, and they commented on some public posts about things. And, you're always going to have somebody who thinks that they're better than you. You're always going to have somebody that, and I told this to, a couple guys on our board, like, as we get bigger as an organization, more of that's going to come out. But everybody has dirt. Everybody has, something. You offended somebody at some point, and they're going to turn it into something that it's not. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the mental 2024 is, like you said, a tough place. It's, you're not doing enough. You don't have a big enough house. You don't have a nice enough car. You don't have, like you said, your kids aren't going to the best school. And I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of mental health resources out there, but I don't think there's enough to outweigh the amount of stressors that there are in 2024.
That's a good point. I mean, it's a tough place to be, and you got to find where you get that. I think you found your place, right? Like, you found where you can reset or refit, rearm, as out on a hunt or fishing or whatever. So that's a big thing. Is somebody has to find that, whether it's volunteering or talking to counselors or whatever. You just you keep doing that. But yeah, a lot of times it's like, I'm the worst person about it. It's getting better in my life, but like, you're always gonna have critics, and people are going to criticize what you're doing, but like, fuck them, honestly. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, their opinion doesn't matter. Like, when they're done bitching at you, they're going to bitch at somebody else, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not. I used to think that too, but I'm at a different point. Like, I don't even give a fuck anymore. Like, I mean, like, I'm not going to sit there and like that's hard to do. Yeah, you're right. Like, you want to go back and like, what are you doing? Like, you're trying to, but when you look back and say, what are you doing? You're kind of justifying what you're doing. Like, fuck that. Like, if they don't see it and they don't appreciate it, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not for everybody. Like, Shea Miller is not for everybody. You know what? And I don't give a shit anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a huge thing. Remember, like, Justin, Jones is not for everybody. That's fine. Spin it how you want to, but we're sitting around the campfire. I feel like this is a good question to ask.
Yep.
Because I've asked maybe like one other person. So we're sitting around the campfire. We maybe had 1 or 2 beers. I killed like a 18-point buck that weighs 372 pounds.
We'd have had
No, I'm
more,
kidding.
we'd have had more
So
than 2 beers.
no, we're just talking. So we're sitting around the campfire. Close your eyes. Like,
Yep.
if you can have a conversation with anyone, living or dead, who would it be? What are you talking about?
That's deep, dude.
Dude. Come on, it's not any deeper than would you shoot Bigfoot and eat him. I mean, come on, I feel like no, it's a lot deeper. I mean, think about it.
Dead or alive, have a conversation. Who would it be? Man, I don't.
No way, it's subject. Come on, close your eyes. The heat's coming off the fire. Got your little piglies out there. Like, there's no wrong answer. Come on, throw it out there.
I'd say Jesus.
Jesus. Okay.
I'd say Jesus. Honestly, I mean, I don't. My wife introduced me to being saved, and for me to, I mean, I can't attribute any of anything of that I've done, from 2009 till now, without having God on my side, and even before then, it's everything happens for a reason. I'd like to ask them, what some of these reasons are. I had a contractor steal $36,000 from me on a pole gun. Everything happens for
why, Jesus? Why?
What is this bringing me to? Like, I ain't figured that one out yet. But yeah, I just, at the end of the day, doing what I do, some may see it as, God's work, the hands of God and the hands of Jesus. But, I love what I do. I'm by no means, I'm a sinner just like everybody else. But I'm saved, I'm saved by God. And what I do is, I think it's His calling for my life. And I think it's, why I'm doing what I'm doing, in the moment, and, what I'm doing. So.
Good answer. I mean, I'm interested in the first question. Like, why do you take that $36,000? I have a lot of other questions I'd be asking, but that's fine. So here we go. We just went over the 2-hour mark. I think it's time to turn over one more time to you, American Hero Hunt. Josh is going to throw something up here. Huge events coming for you guys here soon. So here's your platform to talk to some people. I'm going to turn it over to you. Josh has got a slide there for you, but you got a big fundraiser coming up.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
So, yeah, I appreciate it. Coming up March 16th in Newark, it is our staple fundraiser. We have I think this is our fourth year doing our dinner banquet fundraiser. We have had huge success, over the last 3 banquets that we've done. We had to skip COVID, a year after COVID, 2021. But, we sold out on corporate, table sponsors immediately. But we have other sponsorships. We have general tickets are $60. I cannot thank Budweiser Matesic enough for being their, our presenting sponsor for this. And we are sitting right at 30 or a little under 30 general seats for $60. That gets you your dinner, as well as at arm's length of general raffle tickets for the raffle prices. But we're going to have live auction, silent auction, table full of bourbon baskets. And, we're looking for more. If anybody has more bourbon they want to donate, we're looking for it.
Well, we have no bourbon down here, but
zero. But yeah, so March 16th, Newark at the Landing. You have to buy tickets online before Saturday night at midnight. I'm shutting those off. So the 9th at midnight, I'm shutting them off because we have to let our caterer know how many seats we've got. And if you're interested in being a sponsor or anything like that, let me know. We can tailor our package to you. We've got a lot of great support locally. We've got amazing raffle prizes, silent auctions, live auctions, a lot of good stuff to go along with that, and we're definitely looking forward to it.
So what are some of the raffles, guns, prizes? What do you got going on?
So we've got, I think we went to the other night. We're gonna have a wall of guns, which have 8 guns on it. We're gonna have multiple games, spin the wheel, dice, 52 card, $10 cards, $52 card, $20 cards. You name it. We're gonna have tables. I mean, it's 30 to 40 guns we're gonna have in house at night. You will, fill out your FFA paperwork that night. You can take them home with you as long as you pass your background check. It is an 18 and up only event, so we're definitely looking forward to it.
Awesome. And you posted some stuff on there, but where can they find it at?
AmericanHeroHunt.org.
Okay.
Go to the little menu options there, and there is a tab for dinner banquet. Click on that, and it shows all the options. Whether it's for dinner sponsor, bar sponsor, general tickets. Click on that, and it takes you straight to the page, and you'll be good to go.
And so I'm going to follow up with that. With the Poison Patriots, we're not as progressive as you guys, but our first fundraiser is coming up May 18th. We're going to cornhole it with our friends at Zaptig. We've still got some slots open. We're giving away good prizes: 500 bones, first place, 300 for second, third for 150. Tons of great silent auction stuff. We're killing it as well. We're gonna have a lot of bourbon. That's why I can't give you more bourbon. But come out and see us. We got some slots going. It's gonna be awesome. Our friends at Zaptig. I can't thank them enough for doing it. Everybody that's donated so far. But if you're out there, get your tickets. We have some slots left. May 18th, 12 to 9 p.m. We're gonna have a live band. I promise I won't be talking that much at the event. We're going to have 50-50 raffle. We have some good stuff. So come out and see us. Yeah. I have to just put a disclaimer as Joe is one of our board members, claims to be like a cornhole champion. So he is disqualified from winning. He doesn't know that yet. But come out and see us. So we just got to make sure he doesn't show up in like in a costume or something, right, that we can't see him or something. But come out and see us. That actually would be pretty funny. If he did, that would be great. But that'd be pretty funny actually. But thank you for coming on tonight. It's been huge. Again, I think somebody did say earlier, thank you for your service, that you did toe the line and Semper Fi. So that is important. Like, I want you to remember that your service does matter. Your story is huge. Thank you for not, saying no, right? Initially, I know that was one big thing, but yeah, somebody said, thanks for your service, Justin. You signed and you're doing God's work now. So Semper Fi. I think that's, like you said a few times during the podcast, is that, things happen for a reason. And maybe that's what happened at Paris Island for you. So, we're going to get into the dark part of tonight. So tonight we're going to transition into the time that we honor a service member who took their life. So tonight we're going to honor U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Brandon Michael Ketchum, 33 years old. Brandon took his life on July 8th in 2016 in Davenport, Iowa. I'm sorry. Brandon was born October 18th, 1982 at Darnell Army Community Hospital in Killeen, Texas. Brandon graduated from Wisconsin Dells High School in 2001. In 2004, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps as a combat engineer. While serving the Marine Corps from 2004 to 2008, Brandon deployed twice to Iraq. In 2008, Brandon enlisted in the United States Army as a combat engineer, and in 2010, he deployed to Afghanistan with the Iowa National Guard. Brandon left the military after being injured in line of duty and enduring multiple surgeries. After his military service, Brandon took up the hobby of woodworking and excelled in his craft by making beautiful butcher blocks, cutting boards, and shadow boxes for fellow military friends and family. Family and friends will forever remember Brandon's unique sense of humor and the ability to bring laughter and happiness to anyone he encountered. Brandon was a likable person that was able to make friends with whoever he met. Brandon is survived by his daughter Layla, mother Beverly, brother Brad, his soulmate Christine, grandparents Albert, Phyllis, and Rosemary, and numerous other relatives and friends. And if anyone out there is listening, or anyone you know may be in crisis or considering suicide, please contact the Veterans Crisis Hotline at 988 or 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Or you can text 838-255, or now you can chat online at veteranscrisisline.net/chat. So again, want to thank you for coming on board, coming down here. Again, thanks for switching your schedule, but
No, thank you. I love what you guys are doing.
Likewise.
I can't thank you guys enough for bringing myself and the organization on the podcast, and it's been a pleasure. And Semper Fi to the gentleman.
Exactly. So I don't have anything in there. We'll do it afterwards, but we'll end it with a quote. This is from Dr. Keith Kidball. The therapeutic value of those ancient rituals of ours called hunting and angling are deeply connected to our health and well-being. People aren't aware of that, and I'm trying to document that and make people aware of it. So thank you for what you guys are doing. Like you said before, it's completely humbling to have you down here and what your organization is doing, and keep at it. Can't wait to hear about 100 or 200 or see you on TV.
I'm looking forward
So
to it.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, my friend. So
Appreciate
we will see everyone in a couple weeks. Again, as we get off, want to apologize for the audio issue. We'll get it fixed. Thanks to everybody that hung in there for us and fought through this, because Justin's story is pretty huge, and the story of American Hero Hunt is huge as well. So we will see everyone in a couple weeks. Thanks to you for coming on, my friend, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.